Well, the tsunami swept away more than 30,000 lives in Sri Lanka alone. For a look at the recovery effort there, we're joined on the phone by Al Panico. He heads the delegation for the International Federation of Red Cross and Red Crescent Societies in Sri Lanka. Al, thanks very much indeed for being with us on World News Asia tonight. So first of all, if you could just give us an idea of what the picture looks like there 2 years on.
Hi, Angeli. Thanks. Well, things have changed quite a bit in the last year. I just came back from traveling up and down the coast last several days, and houses are being constructed. The debris is pretty much cleared out. Temples are being restored. The railway is working. It looks a lot better than it did before, at least in the southern and the western part of the country.
What have been the greatest successes for your organisation, and also the greatest disappointments in terms of achieving what you'd set out to there?
Well, I think we've now are in construction phase of about 7,000 houses, restoring livelihoods of people, helping them get back to their small businesses, providing loans, providing training, and other help of that sort. Rebuilding about 15 or 20 hospitals, also schools. Those have been very significant successes. What has been probably the most disappointing, Angeli, is we have lost access to many of the areas in the north where the conflict is occurring, and we're unable to really work in large parts of the country.
Before we get to that, I just wanted to tell you something that the UN was saying, that the Red Cross organisations have been given more than $2 billion, and about $1.3 billion that is still sitting in the bank. So, of course, with the utmost respect, Al, for the work that you're doing, why aren't things moving faster?
Well, we've always planned that it would take 5 years to rebuild here, and actually the pace of the spending in terms of doing the real planning, doing the real community work, doing the real construction is pretty much going along on pace. We've had, of course, a number of delays in getting clear title to land and sorting out some of the beneficiary issues. But I think all in all, we're right in pace with what we had anticipated.
Yeah, and surely one of the greatest hindrances here to you being able to do your job as effectively as you'd like would be the renewed violence that's taking place in Sri Lanka with the civil war that's being waged there. A UN envoy recently saying that it had paid to a lot of the reconstruction efforts there. What sort of difficulties have you come up against on that score?
Angela, I mean, it's so vast and the problems are so many, but I'll tell you one quick story. One of our construction engineers, a site engineer, a Sri Lankan guy, was abducted last weekend and held for about 4 days until we were able to secure his release through the fighting factions. And that's because we're also providing help in the conflict areas as well. But that's just a small example of how tragic this is and how it impacts us just right on the ground with our own people.
And aside from the fighting, Al, Sri Lanka deals with a lot of extreme weather conditions every year, like floods, droughts, cyclones, all sorts of things. But it was caught totally by surprise by the tsunami. How's your organisation been able to help them there with preparedness should something like this ever happen again?
Well, we have a pretty significant program in disaster preparedness and disaster management, and we've been working with the government, with local communities, certainly with the Sri Lanka Red Cross Society, in helping them to have a better connection with the community so they can warn people in advance and also tell them what they can anticipate when there is a disaster. We had a good response on that on recent floods. You say that we have many disasters. We had a flood that displaced about 7,000 people just in the south over the last few weeks. And we had a pretty good response to that tragedy as well.
Well, Al, certainly very good news to hear that from you this evening. Many thanks indeed. Al Panico there of the International Federation of Red Cross and Red Crescent Society speaking to us from Colombo. Well, the Indonesian province of Aceh.